Welcome to the Innovator series. Today we're talking to Masha Sedova, CEO and co-founder of Elevate Security, a company who focuses on the most challenging aspect of cybersecurity, the people or the workforce. The company now in its sixth year is trusted by large healthcare organizations, large financial organizations, and is on a mission to stop security incidents before they happen. Masha, thank you for doing this and being here today.
It's wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah. And I love your guys' byline. Yeah, 80% of incidents are caused by 8% of the employees. Like, what a great way to state the mission.
Yeah, it was a mind-blowing concept when we actually looked at the data and realized it's a small number of employees who cause a disproportionate number of incidents. And I feel like many people, CISOs, security leaders, anecdotally understand that for small organizations, but when you scale, you realize, oh my gosh, like I really have a small and narrow problem that is causing me a lot of headache. And if I can pinpoint it, I can think about my solution in a very different way. So it is a very exciting light bulb moment for us as a company and the industry.
And you know a lot about scale. Maybe we start with your background. So correct me if I'm wrong. You were a part of or ran the trust organization at Salesforce.com for what, almost 8 years or slightly more.
So I was there for about 6 years. My co-founder, Robert Fly, was there for about 8 and built the team up from, I think, about 4 or 5 people. So very early days. I joined the company when Salesforce was 9,000 people and left when it was 35,000 people. So had the opportunity of building and running a team called Trust Engagement, which was responsible for all of the human element of security.
Yeah.
And it was a wonderful problem to solve at scale because we were in 60 different countries, different languages, and some really tricky human risk problems.
Right. So, that's such a, and plus what's interesting about Salesforce is these are technical employees. The developers have access to so many tools, so many things. Like the behaviors are sort of exaggerated because of the amount of types of things people have to touch. And you trying to teach those folks security, it sounds like a huge responsibility.
You would think that the technical workforce is some of the worst offenders, and they're high up there. But what our data at Elevate has seen, and what's been true for many of the organizations I work for, it's a lot of the customer-facing departments. So customer service, customer support tends to be targeted the most by attackers, and have a hard time figuring out whether or not this is a legitimate customer support that they need to support, or do they actually need to fight back? And is this an attacker who's trying to manipulate them? So that's a problem that, regardless of how many technical folks you have, many organizations have a customer service, customer support organization, and that really is today, anyway, the weak front of many departments.
Oh, for sure. That makes total sense that it would be those employees. Did you leave Salesforce with the intent to start a company and tackle human risk, or was the path not so clear?
So I knew that I was committed to solving this problem one way or the other. It was the problem that I set out to solve at Salesforce and had made remarkable progress in the company. And one of the things that I had partnered with Robert, my co-founder there, was we had a bunch of employees that we were treating all the same, right, with the one-size-fits-all security training, and it wasn't reducing any of our incidents that we were seeing, right? And we were still spending millions of dollars on detection and response. And so we put our heads together and said, there's got to be a better way given how many user-generated incidents we were seeing. And so we started looking at the data sets from all of these security tools and realizing we could very much tailor the program. And that was the light bulb moment, saying, wow, we can actually do this internally at Salesforce. And it worked really successfully there. And so we set out to do it on our own and to create a platform that many organizations could do. And I like to say that I am probably one of the most obsessed people in the industry with this problem. I've been thinking about it from every angle, from gamification to behavioral science, data science, and analytics. And so it's just really exciting to be able to be working on a platform that is making sizable and meaningful change. And as you introduced, it's one of the hardest problems in security.
Yeah, and it shows in the platform you built that the level of thought into each thing that you guys do is pretty incredible and not like anything else out there. Was the first iteration this robust, or what was version one when you guys went to market?
Yeah, yeah. The platform that we went to market with doesn't look anything like we do today. So today, maybe I should start and work backwards. Today, we're a platform that on one end is very much like a sim for employee data. So thinking about what actions employees do and understanding and correlating events so we can have really contextual clues around it. And on the back end, it's a SOAR-like capability that helps have automated workflows and responses based on the risk that's highlighted. So best practices of security apply to the human element. But I should back up and say our company started and has always had the mission of helping reduce workforce risk in an organization. But we started in a very different way. The very first product we released was actually a digital board game that teams used to play together in a group, and they put themselves in the mind of an attacker, and it helped them really understand how they were vulnerable to an attack, and they actually changed their behavior, and that was wonderful, but it wasn't scalable, right? People play a game once, and then what's next, right? What's an ongoing story? And so we've moved away from the board game and started creating much more robust ongoing dialogues with scorecards, with just-in-time feedback, things that really integrated security into an employee's day-to-day experience versus a one-time, point-in-time experience.
It's interesting. You kind of use the sort of sim and SOAR analogy to describe the platform, but it's not how I think about it, because your set of use cases and your thoughtfulness in your ability to catch users in that most important moment in time, right after they made a mistake or right after they did something, and teach them in the sort of environment that they're used to. There's nothing out there like that. I mean, the simple example of slacking a user when they click on a fish, versus sending them an email with a training video. Well, they're not necessarily an email in that moment, and that's maybe not the right way to get to them. And
Yeah.
like it's that use case library, that moment in time automation, which seems so far above what else is out there. How have you guys gone about building out that library and sort of getting there? Because it seems like such a huge value.
Yeah. So we think about the playbooks in responses to some of the business risks that we're trying to help solve for an organization. And there's a couple of ways of categorizing these risks, right? Almost all of them fall into the proactive state, which is first and foremost a really unique place in the security industry. Many security tools are all about cleaning up after an incident happens or putting out the fire once your house is on fire. We're all about installing sprinkler systems, right, to make sure that the house doesn't catch on fire. And the way that looks like through these playbooks is, as you see risky behavior happening, intervening in the moment it's happening, and bringing people into the conversation, including managers, incident response team, to give people an understanding of what is happening, across many different data points. People who are browsing and clicking on links that are inappropriate and maybe having gaps in their device security paint a really risky picture, but the data sets exist in a lot of different places. And so these workflows help notify people and educate as it's happening, as you're saying in one point. But that works for low to medium risk offenders. On the upper end, one of the things I'm really excited about is thinking, what can we do beyond security training? We've done that for decades, and it honestly has been minimally effective. So leveraging all the other security tools we have available to us. So informing identity and access management systems.
Nice.
This person is an elevated risk or has unusually risky actions. So we should think about how their MFA type, for example, triggering conditional access policies. So really exciting workflows and thinking about other tools we can leverage, or being more thoughtful around access reviews. And does this person need to have the kind of blast radius they have right now based on how risky they are? And so leveraging not just training and awareness and feedback, which is great and useful for a subset of the employee population, but also to the upper end, how do we think about effectively bubble wrapping these risky employees? And so we have all these playbooks out of the box that you can activate and turn on and see how it plays in your environment based on the risks that come up in your workforce, which is a really exciting way of scaling this problem, making it really personalized, but also in a way that's scalable for the security team, so that they can have high touch, but also have high impact.
Yeah, when I think about your space, like the competitors that I think about are like the ones that just do moment in time training, which we know is totally ineffective. I think about the ones that like provide a user risk score, which okay, but how am I lowering that risk score? Like I, doing all of these, the sort of moment in time training, the sort of automation to maybe take actions, sort of to limit access or to take an additional action. Like I don't I don't hear about that in your competitor space. Like how do you think about your competitors?
Yeah. So I would start saying that not all user scores are created equal. For any person who's interested in doing the space, it's really important to look under the hood and say, well, what goes into the user score?
Yeah, fair
Many
point.
of our competitors rely on surveys and quiz completion for the survey score, which is not a true representation of risk. What a person knows or believes is not the same representation of what they do. And so understanding a broad scale of what employees' actions are across multiple data points is really important. And there are some vendors out there who do track what employees do, but they only do it for their ecosystem, right? So as long as you're entirely wall to wall in this shop, right, then you can work. But having a really broad view across a whole bunch of technologies, from web gateways, email gateways, IAM system, device security, really helps paint a broader picture. So understanding what are the integrations, what are the data sources, so you can paint that picture. So that's step one. And then step two is, what do you do with this? If the only outbound answer is give them more training, you have a really fancy system to just do more of the same, right? And that doesn't work well. And so to one of the earlier points, Robert and I have built this because we were practitioners. We lived this pain. We had to leave our jobs because we needed to put a solution out into the market that was missing. And there isn't a vendor on the market right now other than Elevate Security that is founded and run by security practitioners who have lived this problem and are solving it.
Yeah, it shows. It comes through in the platform. I'm so curious about, so like even if everybody deploys your platform and gets really good at sort of moment in time training now, like the landscape is like shifting fast. Like the phishing emails are going to get exponentially better. Someone's going to use this video to make deep fakes of us and like request wire transfers. Like what what's the plan? Like how do you see the platform moving forward in this new world?
Yeah, I mean, this is a really so AI is both a gift and a curse, right? It's going to really up level the difficulty of us detecting phishing attacks. We're already seeing it, right? In social engineering attacks, spear phishing. So continuing to rely on human behavior and hoping, employees are our best defense. I mean, they are a layer of defense, and we need to empower them as best we can. The thing that's really important to realize is that certain employees are more security savvy than others. And we see this in our data sets time and time again. And there's going to be some employees who are simply more vulnerable. They're not going to have their spidey senses go off. And when we think about AI, that pool unfortunately grows a little bit wider. We have to think about, how do we work with those employees to have backup controls, right? How do we have step up of MFA, passwordless security, closer account monitoring, so we can recover more gracefully, should that happen, and understand that certain people are more vulnerable to certain types of attacks. And then we also need to create more thoughtful processes and systems. And this is the thing, another light bulb moment that I actually had just about a year ago. And I'm shocked that we don't do this more. Not all of our employees are attacked equally. So it's not just what kind of decisions we make. What we see in our data sets is that there are a subset of employees who get exponentially more phishing and malware attacks than their peers. And so realizing that there's a certain number of people who need security support and our backing and more security armor when they go into their work than others, not necessarily because they make bad decisions, although those are a subset, but also because they're getting attacked more. And understanding all of these pieces together really helps us, again, personalize and tailor security controls in a cost-effective manner, but leaning into realizing there's certain people who just are going to have a harder time with security controls, and they will need a different experience around security, more thoughtful, tailored, personalized communication that is related to the attacks against them they're seeing. And again, that's where AI can help, right? When I have data around what your security experience is, I can use AI to give you the right information at the right time in a way that a generic training could never do. So that's where it comes to the rescue, right? If we can use the data to understand what an employee is experiencing, how they're making decisions, we can also then better protect them.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you guys, because you have the platform and you have the data, you can use AI to sort of, oh, this user in this experience, I'm going to add more speed bumps here, or this I'm just going to pause here because of what I'm seeing, and give them different responses.
Exactly right.
Thoughtfully. Yeah, very, very cool. Well, hey, congratulations and thank you for doing this. And I'm so excited to see what you guys do next. And yeah,
Thank you
thanks
so
for
much
doing
for
this.
the opportunity to chat about this. This was wonderful. Appreciate it.
Okay.